Well, it's a sand culture, the international standard, and it's a flooded sand culture. If we can get these plants to grow as large as that one, be able to transfer that sort of information in there into a sand culture, then I think we've got a pathway to a 4-inch traps on a Venus flytrap, basically 16 inches across, basically, if we can do it with CP related weeds. So yeah, anyway, we'll see how we go. But I expect this to sort of green up about mid-May. Normally, if it's above 28 degrees, you'd expect 7 to 9 days for something like this to green up. But since we're now into the beginning of the wet, and the nights are getting cooler and everything like that, so I expect to be about mid-May. So we'll come back in mid-May and see how these plants are responding, and go from there. So we probably have a path to both 4-inch traps and also glaucetivity, hopefully. So yeah, but I am noticing problems. See that thing there? That's from another pot I set up. Yeah, near that one. So there's some sort of evolution of gas from one of my pots. So that was damaging that leaf there, and a bit of the leaf here too. See that? So that's very interesting. So yeah, but yeah, I have invented a spot check. You see, so in the past it was always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and I think that John, the friendly rivalry of John 9 in America, I think he's got to the limit of his knowledge, and he sort of got to the stage where he can grow healthy Venus flytraps, but he's just stopped. Like, he doesn't want to go the next step and put one on the front cover of Time or Life magazine sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, but I've got a spot check, and there was all this like nonsense about CPs, and you can give them a high potassium orchid fertilizer. And I do admit that CPs do respond to potassium, but I did a spot check now that I do, and it came back negative. So it was telling me that this idea of putting high potassium orchid fertilizers on your CPs is a negative. You shouldn't be doing it. It's not beneficial. It's not going to be beneficial. So you're not going to get to the size of plants you want and the health of the plants that you want, sort of thing. So it might have something to do with what we're seeing here. But I'll talk more about that on a future video. But yeah. And yeah, as I say, the white sock sour, the sun keeps going in and out, sorry about that, but the white sock sour guys say that if you can grow a tomato, you can grow CPs. And I'm thinking, what are they saying? What are they implying about tomatoes that's so special? But I think we might be getting somewhere to doing that. So we might end up growing, of course, if you go back a couple of steps, that but tomatoes and potatoes are in the same family, the Solanaceae, the deadly nightshade family, and the tomatoes for the last 100 years commercially have been grown in peat, in particular Irish peat. So again, it's almost like a cyclic argument. If you can grow tomatoes, which grow in basically peat and sand, but in commercial places they just use straight peat usually, and you can grow CPs, they say. But the Irish also used to grow their potatoes. They used to dig a trench and line it with seaweed. So there's that sort of seaweed connection between two members of the Solanaceae family. So yeah, it's a toss-up now between my favourite weeds being the true dandelion, or this thing called the ox tongue. So, but anyway, we'll see. If we can grow an ox tongue this sort of size, then I think we're on a good pathway to growing a Venus flytrap with 4-inch traps, so large enough to capture a small field mouse, I would say. But of course then you might have trouble with Peter by the peck of pickled pebbles, yeah. So you're probably going to have to show some footage of you releasing the field mouse from the trap once it's been caught, sort of thing. Otherwise Peter's going to jump down your throat like anything, you know. Yeah, anyway. And if you get a Venus flytrap on the front cover of Time or Life magazine, I'm sure your life is going to change somewhat dramatically, I would say. But anyway, we're on a pathway now. We have the possibility, if these grow this size, and it's see, the sand culture is important because it's the international standard. If you do anything with peat or anything like peat in the medium, they'll first say it's an ill-defined medium, all your results don't count. So that's why it's important to get into a sand culture, because you're on the scientific turf now. They have to sit up and take notice if you do it in a sand culture. They can't poo-poo it, they can't fob it off. If you can do it in a sand culture, your results stand, and they have to listen and sit up and take notice of what you're talking about. If you've probably done something they've not been able to achieve. Yeah. Anyway, we'll give it a go. As I said, I expect this to go green by about mid-May, and then growth should then rapidly progress onwards from there on. And I'll set up a few other buckets along here too, like I said the other day. But what is it about tomatoes and potatoes? Again, both being in the same family, and tomatoes being notoriously difficult to grow, and also they have this thing called blossom end rot sort of thing, which is supposed to be a calcium deficiency. And I think, so what you're saying is tomatoes need calcium, and yet you're saying if you can grow a tomato, you can grow CPs, but CPs are supposed to be calcium-fused plants that don't like calcium. So what are you really saying? I don't know, but we'll see. We might learn something very significant, and we'll be going into a brave new world, I would say. I mean, be crossing some sort of divide where the world would probably never go back after you make the discoveries, you know. Once it's out there in the real world, that's it. It's groundbreaking, world changing, I suppose, but we'll see. But I do like my CP related weeds. They do grow, they grow on their own. They also grow with CPs, and then you'll get patches of soil where the CP related weeds run out and you just get the CPs on their own, which is very interesting. And you've got to explain all that, I suppose, but I think we will. I think we'll get there eventually. But it's just the fact that you know, we've got this rain here and everything, sun coming down, and they'll get rained upon, and it's a semi-enclosed system, you see. That's what's important about a flooded bucket, is that it's a semi-enclosed system. So elements in here can't sprout legs and walk out, you know what I mean? They can't go on a walkabout. So elements down here are basically trapped down there. They can't go anywhere. It's a semi-enclosed system. So anyway, that's about it for this one. But just friendly rivalry out here. I think we might, if this works, we might have a pathway to both large plants and also some glauctivity or bluey green to turquoise leaves and traps, basically, that somewhat match the old lithographs from yesteryear, when people used to be scratching them and said these colours can't be real. But then again, you've got to remember, they used to go out into the world using a number system, where they used to actually, you know, draw the plant and put the numbers of the colours on there. Maybe they made the odd mistake here and there, but mostly they would have come back with the numbers written in there, and it would have been painted according to the numbers, painted by numbers sort of thing. So some of those early lithographs, they look a bit strange, but I don't think they're wrong. I think in the old places where the plants used to grow, it's a bit like Canton Swamp, you know, Drosera gigantea, the only known tuberous rheophyte, or plant that likes to grow slightly submerged for most of its season. You know, from hand-sized potato-like tubers 2 meters down on the clay sand interface, coming up through this quartzite sand that basically, when it's dried out in the summer, they refer to it as gutless sand. So you go from something that's supposed to be gutless sand to something that grows the largest, most robust sundew in the world, bigger than Drosophila regia, that comes up to 10-year-old boy nipple height. That's after growing up 2 meters through the sand and then dying back down from the 10-year-old boy nipple height to the ground, and then dying all the way back to the hand-sized potato-like tubers 2 meters below the ground. And it does that on an annual basis, and it's coming up through flooded soil. So, there's a lot more to the CP syndrome, the CP question that meets the eye, and I think we're going to crack it now after about 50 years basically at the coalface. Soul-destroying work. But anyway, I think that's enough for this one. Just a bit of friendly rivalry for John on the other side of the GFC wall. Okay, see ya. Who's going to get to the 4-inch straps first, eh? If these start growing like that, you better watch out. I think it might be 20. Yeah, we might just win in 2024. Nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing. See ya.